might suppose. Lately I tend to make strangers wherever I go. Some of them were once people I was happy to know.
Welcome to the 3% Podcast, the bi-weekly podcast brought to you by Open Letter and 3%. I'm Chad from Open Letter, joined as always by Tom Roberge of Riff Raff.
Hello, how are you? Happy New Year.
No, Happy New Year to you too. I'm pretty well. I'm on my own this week with the toddler, so that's fun.
God, I never even have anything even approaching that. The most is having to take care of 3 animals.
Yeah.
Which...
That's a lot, though.
Oh, and running a business by myself sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm managing. I've made it through all the days that he doesn't have daycare, so now I'm coasting. Now I can actually come to work and do real work instead of like half-assed work when I can get him to sleep by driving him around until he falls asleep and then popping in the nearest library.
Seems like an untenable situation.
It was actually worked fairly well. I got more stuff done because I wasn't at home. Like I was, out somewhere, and I was like, oh yeah, I can just proof here and work on stuff. But only for like the 2 hours that he's napping, and then I have to figure out what to do. It's good fun. Parents should get more props. Not me per se. I mean, all the ones that are doing this all the time. Anyway, so we had a couple things that we wanted to talk about today, I suppose. The first one that we mentioned, they teased on the last podcast, but we didn't talk about any more than that, is the article you wrote for the Los Angeles Review of Books. How the hell did it all come to this? The Political Noirs of Jean-Patrick Manchette. And I thought maybe you just want to summarize what your whole thing was here and maybe rank some of his books or talk about which ones you think people would be most interested in reading if they haven't read any of them.
Well, my basic, premise, I suppose, of the piece is that even in the noirs that don't seem particularly politically focused, they all sort of manifest the effects of the political on the personal, and in a way that I think very few writers of that time period, the late 60s, early 70s, were capable of doing with such subtlety, and because it was so subtle, became so resonant, and it's still resonant, 40, 50 years later, as you read his characters sort of dealing with the world. And, the politics of the world have changed slightly, but they're not all that different, Mm-hmm. He was a socialist. He was fighting against capitalism, and, often portrayed characters who were sort of victims of the capitalist machine, and in various ways, and they reacted in different ways, of course, some with just pure malice and bloodlust and that sort of thing. Others in more, normal everyday ways, and some somewhere in between. But that, they were all sort of reacting to the ways that society and in particular, like capitalist democracy in the West has sort of turned people into these, cogs in a machine, and sort of stripped away all of the agency and all of that sort of stuff. And, all of the ways that capitalism ruins life for everyone who isn't a millionaire.
Yeah.
And he manifested, I think he really wrote his characters very, very well in terms of just showcasing just the ways that people are sort of beaten down by, living in the world, basically.
Yeah. Very cool. So sorry, go on.
And so I traced it a little bit. This was all based on when I read Nada over the summer. I think it came out in the fall. I had an advanced copy. They know I love him, so Nick always sends it along as soon as he can. I finished Nada in like 2 days, and just immediately, I was texting Brad Johnson from East Bay Books, and we were talking about how amazing Nada is for these reasons, because of how well he manages to get the political aspect of everything into these gritty noirs. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about Ivory Pearl, the unfinished book, which was like a much larger sort of political thing. And then if you look back, you can sort of trace it through sort of all of his books. And that's what this article was an attempt to do.
What? When was Nada originally written? Like, where does that fit into his?
Oh God, it was sort of right in the middle of his books. It was not. Oh God, you're gonna make me look this up.
I've got it. You can just. It's 1973.
73. So
it's after the Corpses in the Sun, the Negustra affair, the Mad and the Bad.
Yeah. And
then it's Nada.
Yeah. Which you can sort of see how Mad and the Bad and Nada sort of fit together. A lot of it was, disappointment with the years after May 68 and all the potential and promise, and it just not a whole lot came of it. And this was like a way of, Nada in particular is a way of sort of addressing it.
Yeah. Is there plans for the other ones to be translated?
As far as I know, they're doing them all
bit by bit.
One by one. Donald is as far as I know working on them. I don't think they've decided not to do any. I think it's New York Review of Books, and they take their time. And Donald is a busy man and is doing other translations as well. And I mean, I think one a year or one every year and a half at this point. That's actually pretty good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just the ones that are out in English translation are like the four final ones, and then the Mad and the Bad and now Nada. But then the Red Ball Gang, Crowded Day at the Morgue, and It's Raining Bones, which is fucking great.
The Crowded Day at the Morgue is supposed to be really good. I haven't read it yet, but okay. I don't know about the other two very much.
It just sounds, they just have good titles, so.
They do have good titles. He had a way with, that sort of thing. Mad and the Bad, I think, is a great title. It's really, especially for that book.
Which is also Run Like Crazy, Run Like Hell?
Yeah, for whatever reason, I can't remember what the French title is. But yeah, Run Like Crazy, Run Like Hell is, like, for some reason, when they did the graphic novel version of it.
They changed the name.
That's what they decided to focus on. I can't remember what it is.
I'm going to just guess. Oh Dingoes, Oh Chateau?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, which is basically nonsense.
Okay.
So.
Like, that doesn't really seem to be anything.
Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a nonsense title in French, so, like, just make up some fucking words.
What do you think Google Translate's going to say it is?
Oh, God. I mean, Chateau is obvious, but Oh Dingo, Oh Chateau?
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Detect language, translate into English. Oh Dingoes, Oh Castles.
So castles and castles.
Dingoes and castles. So, yep. Yeah, that's nonsense. Which of the books would you recommend to people that if they haven't read any of them, is Nada the best one to start with, or would you prefer that they read Fatale?
Fatale is an interesting one. I mean, it's the one I read first because I think it was the first that NYRB had done, and yeah. I don't remember when City Lights did the two that they did, but I was unaware of them until I was unaware of Manchette until Fatale came out, and I actually think Free to Kill is a really good spot to start. It
was in 2002.
Oh yeah, see, I'm just back from years abroad. So I would start with Free to Kill. I think I really enjoyed that one. It really isn't, it's kind of myopic in its scope, but still sort of has all of the interesting Manchette sort of stuff going on in it. Fatale is good, but it's so surreal that it's also unlike all of the other ones in that it really feels nihilistic. Like on a surface level, it feels nihilistic in a way that the others aren't, which I think might, skew the way that people look at him. I think Nada is actually really, 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 really good. I think it might be the best book he ever wrote.
Yeah.
It's too bad Ivory Pearl didn't get finished because that was going to be something special. But
yeah, and the whole trilogy.
Yeah. I mean, Mad and the Bad is really good too. Mad and the Bad 3 to Killer, I sort of think of together. I don't know why. They just sort of pair them together. Anyway, Yeah, people should definitely read him. He's so much deeper, and there's a lot going on. Just in like the nuance of his characters, sort of the way they talk to each other, the way they interact with each other, the way they look at the world, and the way that it all comes out in is the way he writes, which is so unlike, most noirs these days, especially by Americans. And it just, he was one of a kind and revered for a lot of reasons, and still is by a lot of, contemporary writers for very good reason, I think. And you can see the other thing I think that's interesting is the way he, like, I didn't know this when I started reading him, but, he was obsessed with Donald Westlake, who I love. And, he had translated some of them when he wasn't writing in the 80s, the 9 years or whatever he took off from writing novels. He translated a lot, and a lot of that was Westlake, who, the Parker novels, and I love all that stuff. So anyway, you can see where it feeds into each other, his writing and Westlake and back and forth, and the sort of the anti-hero sort of writing of noir, right? Like I have a friend, customer here at the store who's, he's in school, grad school, and he's like, every once in a while he just wants a good noir, and he loves Chandler, and I tried to convince him to read some other stuff, and he's like, yeah, but there's no detective, there's no, like, who are you rooting for? I was like, oh yeah, there's no one to root for. Like, everyone's awful. Just, that's kind of the charm in it, right? Is just, do these people get out of this shitty situation? You somehow find yourself rooting for them, even though they're not good people.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's interesting. That's an interesting thing to pull off.
I didn't realize that Donald Westlake wrote over 100 novels.
Yeah, he's a busy man. I mean, some of them are you could tell, like, he could have written them in his sleep.
Like the Simenon books?
But they're, he comes up with the plots, and they just sort of write themselves for him.
Yeah, yeah. The Parker novels are the real ones, right?
Yes. Yeah. The Parker novels, and there are some others that he wrote.
Sure, 24 of those too.
24 of those. There is also there's some offshoots from those. The Grofeld, I think they're called, and those are pretty good. And then he's got some funny stuff. Dortmunder is a funny sort of series. Like the Hot Rock is based on that. And then he wrote a bunch just under his real name. The Parker novels are under Richard Stark. If anyone is hearing me mention this for the first time, he wrote them under the name Richard Stark. He wrote some under his real name too, and because they were mostly just one-offs, right? Uh-huh. Just sort of pulpy New York City, David Goodis sort of esque, maybe not as dark as Goodis, but dark sort of things. So yeah, he was a busy man.
So this is a weird backdoor segue into the next thing that we were going to talk about. But which of the Parker movies do you prefer?
As far as I'm concerned, there's only the best one is hands down Made in USA, the Godard movie based on The Jugger, which is the 7th book in the series. Not that you need to read them in order, but it's so Godard. The French at the time were obsessed with these Parker novels. Somehow made a script based on The Jugger, which is about a safecracker and trying to avenge his death and all of that. And Godard did it without talking to Westlake, without talking to him at all. And it was only after the movie came out and word got back to Westlake, and he's like, "What the fuck? Like, this is clearly my book." And they retroactively had to pay him and give him credit, story credit, or whatever the hell you do at the time.
Wow.
So I don't know if you know this, but Westlake stipulated with every film adaptation, there are a bunch. The original, I'm going to blank on the name of the very first one that's based on the very first part of the series with Coburn is actually interesting in a way. It's like, a typical bad 70s movie, but James Coburn is so fucking grizzled and amazing that it's really good. But so Westlake stipulated that every time one of them got adapted to a film that they have different titles. He didn't want the book titles being used.
Oh, okay.
Because he wanted them to be totally different things.
Yeah.
which I think is, interesting. But so there have been, okay, there's one with Mel Gibson.
Yeah. Yep. That's the one I was waiting for. Payback.
So Payback is actually the same one as the one starring Coburn.
That one I don't know what that is.
I can't figure that out, what that's called. And then there was a remake of one, I think it's just called Parker, with Jason Statham a few years ago.
Yep.
Which was, whatever.
2013, man.
Yeah, it's Jason Statham. So it wasn't the worst movie in the world, but also wasn't the best.
Wow, man, it made $46 million.
What is that?
I thought you would like that because it involves taking the gate money from the Ohio State Fair.
It was fine. It was fine. What is this movie called?
Yeah, I'm just looking all these up right now. But with the Godard one, so Anna Karina is in it, which just passed away not that long ago, like I don't even think a month ago. But also that the budget for that movie was $50,000 and its box office was $95,000. Can you imagine a world in which that happens again?
Well, it's like 1966 or something.
Yeah. It's still it's wild. These numbers jump around real quick.
Yeah. So the one, was it Coburn? Lee Marvin. It was called Point Blank.
Point Blank. Okay. Yeah. I wondered if that's what we might have been talking about. But even that was 1967 and $2.5 million budget, $3 million box office.
So, bringing this back to Anna Karina, so who knows if you know this, but the tattoo on my arm, one of the two tattoos on my arm of a woman holding a gun, is Anna Karina in Made in USA.
Yes,
yeah,
that's what I thought, and that's what I couldn't remember if that was exactly true, but
yeah, big fan, obviously.
Looking towards that, so that does tie in as adaptations into this article from Publishers Weekly. Which we're going to talk about, which came out yesterday, I guess. But because they had mentioned it's the top news stories of 2019, and one of them is about literary adaptations. But before we go into that, was there anything else you wanted to say about Manchette or Westlake or the article?
Not really. I really think, I wish there was more of a place in the translation sort of appreciation sort of community, as small as it is, for these sorts of writers. And I feel like Manchette has been the rare exception that he is read and appreciated beyond the sort of translation community. And I couldn't tell you why that is, apart from, obviously the books I think are pretty fucking amazing. But there have been so many other attempts to sort of publish these people in English in recent years, and just to
who do you mean by these people? I have one in mind.
Well, Europa has done quite a few with the Italians and the French that they've published. I'm totally blanking on Chorno and those. I'm totally forgetting the name of the author. But like Melville House has tried to do this in recent years with Wolf Haas and Scherbanenko, the Italian master of the noir, and they were amazing writers in their time, and they were put into English in these beautiful translations and these stories, and just for whatever reason, the audience they just never found them, and I just wish. They seem to be put in like this weird little ghetto, I know like Rachel, her thing is sci-fi and translation. I feel like, me and Michael Reynolds from Europa and some other people have like really been pushing to like a noir in translation. It's just, it is whatever. Maybe we're not banging the drum loud enough, but it's never really quite caught on. And I wish it would.
We have the big Gessel Dome noir in translation, and there are other ones coming too. But the person I was thinking of was Pascal Garnier. Yeah,
those are. They're interesting for sure. They're not as good as Manchette. They're dark. They're fun at the same time, It's just they don't really rise to the level of like, literature that, should span the centuries or whatever. I think they're quite good, and you read them, but you forget about them almost immediately.
Yeah, I've read like 3 and I don't remember anything about them.
Yeah.
When I searched and I just put in his name though, one of the things that comes up is this website called crimefictionlover.com, and there's some piece on here about Garnier, and it says his short novels, the noir writer Pascal Garnier's short novels have taken over the English-speaking world by storm.
I mean, maybe in the UK, because they're published by a British publisher. Maybe they sell better over there. I don't know. There's
another one that was from litreactor.com that's simply, why the fuck aren't you reading Pascal Garnier? So there's some people banging some sort of drum. I don't know, man. He there's a new book of his coming out. That's why I mentioned him too. We just got the galley of it.
Yeah, I can't. Where on earth am I looking for? Yeah, we have one that came out recently. I don't think the covers do them any favors. They look a little like monotonous, unfortunately. But
they keep switching them too.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
They also feel like they're printed in the UK.
Yes.
and any bookseller or person knows what that means too.
Right.
But anyways, yeah. So yeah, hopefully. Well, I mean, there seems like there's the ones that do the books in translation that are like the crime thriller ones do really, really well. As we know, like Joe Nesbo and all those that created all that stuff. So it doesn't seem like a leap that some of these could catch on. But I don't know. People do seem to want their positive hero to look up to.
Yeah, I was thinking of Jean-Claude Izzo, by the way.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. There's a lot of it's. I understand why people read whatever you want to, Joe Nesbo and all that sorts of thing, and they're good. But yeah, those aren't. I don't know. Again, those are not real. Like, I don't consider those literature in the same way that I would consider Manchette literature. And I know that's probably sounding a bit pretentious and whatever, but look, yeah, we all got to make decisions. And
this isn't a podcast that's ever had pretension on it before. So.
No, of course not.
2020, first time for pretentious comments on 3%. Anyways, okay, should we move on to this other thing?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm ready for the first time. Okay.
So PW's top news stories of 2019, they list 10 of them, and I thought we could just touch on each one if it affects us in any way, shape, or form, and maybe, I don't know, judge whether it's really a top story or what it means for like the book selling, or I don't know, book culture as a whole in some cases. So the first one they list is Elliott Advisors buys Barnes & Noble and Daunt is named CEO. And it's about how they bought B&N and that James Daunt, who had been served as CEO of Waterstones, which is also owned by Elliott Advisors, is took over as CEO of Barnes & Noble. He's already implementing in 2020 an overhaul of its merchandising approach and returning the responsibility of each store's performance to local managers. Important?
It's really hard for me to assess whether or not this is important. I think probably yes, for the health of the publishing industry as a whole, this is probably a good thing and an important thing. It's definitely an important thing because if B&N actually truly just vanishes, files for bankruptcy, that's a bad thing for the publishing world. It's not, I don't know what their market share is at this point, but it's not nothing, that's for sure. And I think a stronger B&N definitely helps out the publishing industry. Does it matter to me? Not at all. Does it matter to you? What do you think?
They don't carry any of our books, so
there you
go. I don't know. So it could only be better, right?
Yeah, I won't. I can't divulge where I heard this, but I know someone who has met with Daunt about some of these issues, including this local sort of push. And my impression from this person was that he is very sincere about this and is like really committed to doing it that way and trying to, learn the lesson of the best independent stores and the way that they do things.
Well, they're part of that, I think, comes from the fact that they also, what's not mentioned in here, is they also own Foyles. So, right. And Foyles was like the first store that he was in charge of that was not a Waterstone's corporatized automated system. And I think there are certain things that were going on there with changes that they're implementing that didn't seem completely positive, but also Foyles is like a very small, I mean, although they're huge to all of us, I think they're just a small portion of the Waterstones sort of empire. So they sort of could run on their own, even though I think Waterstones and Daunt would prefer that everyone's in sync. But I think some of what they got out of that is what they're trying to apply to Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
So maybe that's good, or we could end up with situations where you have like all these shitty local stores that are just shitty because like they don't have the right people in place and whatever. They're Barnes and Noble still.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can afford to hire good local managers.
Like, could they actually hire away from independent stores in ways that would be give people like that have a lot of talent that are at like the level where they're not ready to own a store or manage a store of an independent store because there's no space for them, but they have enough experience to take over running a Barnes and Noble store.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely know people like this, and right. I don't know that culturally that a lot of people are going to be dying to make that leap from independent stores to being an end store, but I'm sure that I live in a little bubble where everyone I know is so anti-corporate that they would never do that. I'm sure there are 10 times as many people who they love books and they love working in bookstores and they don't care where it is.
And they're going to run like a big number of people.
And they make more money, benefits, there's a lot of advantages to working for a corporation. Absolutely. So I can see maybe, who knows? I do think that they're going to, from what I can tell, it seems like they are really going to try to do it. My concern with any corporation is, of course, too many cooks in the kitchen, and it all just gets sort of flattened out and is not very interesting.
Yeah. Also, the people who shop at Barnes & Noble are not going to change very fast.
Right. There's that too.
Okay, so that one's important. I'd say like a 8 out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
Solid. Okay, 2. Baker & Taylor exits the retail wholesale market. In early May, Baker & Taylor announced that it was closing its retail wholesaling business, which supplied books to bookstores and other physical retailers. They phased it all out. They're better in line with their parent company, Follett Corporations, whose strengths include working in schools and school libraries. Their library wholesaling operations were not affected. Publishers and booksellers were both concerned that B&T's exit from the retail business would slow shipments to stores, especially to the West Coast, where B&T fulfilled orders through its Reno warehouse, which was set to close. Publishers came up with plans to alleviate problems, blah, 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 blah. Random House bought that Reno warehouse of B&T and is using it for all of their books. Cool. Fuck you, Random House. So this one, important for you guys, I assume.
Not in the end, it's not terribly important.
Okay.
I mean, I ordered from wholesalers as absolutely little as possible because they don't have the best discounts. Baker & Taylor was a little better than Ingram initially. For stores just starting up, they offer slightly better. I have no idea if I'm supposed to be mentioning any of this, but I don't think it's like a secret or anything. They were a little friendlier to new stores and independent stores in general.
Yeah.
That said, they were not as great with the fulfillment part of that.
Yeah.
And their interface and all of that, it was never quite as user, and by user I mean like me, a retail store buying from wholesaler. Never as good as Ingram. Never as quite as smooth and seamless as I would like it to be.
Yeah.
Like I said, we didn't really order a lot from Baker & Taylor. They were like our backup if Ingram didn't have something.
Yeah.
In the end, didn't really affect me all that much. I'm sure there are stores who do not have accounts with the actual publishers, which is ridiculous, but there it is. And so now they're getting all their books from 2 places instead of 3, which I don't know. It's hard to say like it's bad or good, but it's bad if they are buying on credit and can't afford to pay their bills, but at the same time, maybe they can't afford to pay their bills because they're going, I don't know. Like,
I would think the big problem, side effect or unintended side effect would be that if someone were a heavy, because we used to, at Quill Ridge, we'd order a lot of things that we needed to replace really fast through the wholesalers. Because at that time, they were the just-in-time, next-day sort of thing, and not even Penguin or Random House, since they weren't one, could really do that at that point. So we'd order things that were popular through there, and then the other things that could wait for a week, you'd order through the regular publishers. But ours was Cohen, Ingram, Baker and Taylor, and Cohen went out of business. And and that did impact because there's no increase in credit with the other two. So like when you had things balanced where you had like you're near maxed out on everything and just moving around little by little, when one of those three went away, it became problematic in that sense. And I can imagine certain stores being stuck in this position now where like they don't have the credit to order what they would have ordered for Baker and Taylor from Ingram. And so it might impact inventory a little bit. And it would be the sort of thing that would impact us because the books that are like, whatever, the best-selling books, they're going to find a way to get those. But like the extra ones that you get a copy of or two and sell every 4 months, those ones they probably would have to leave off if they didn't have credit to spend. So maybe it impacts us.
But they should be ordering those directly from the publisher.
Yeah, which is fucking Ingram, though. So, yeah. And that I think that I might be wrong about this, and maybe you can clarify this, but Ingram doesn't have 2 lines of credit for like wholesale plus the publishers that they distribute. It's just one number, correct?
Correct. I write one check.
Right. So if they do, they could be ordering it directly from us, but it's still the same problem because their credit didn't change with Ingram as a whole.
Look, when this all happened, Ingram made a bunch of noise about, reviewing credit limits and all of this sort of stuff and whatever. This is not an issue for us. I don't know what my credit limit is, quite frankly, but I never come anywhere near to hitting it. But, my store is 6,000 books. So, and, we're on good terms with Ingram. I pay my bills on time and have never missed one. And so my limit is probably, high enough that I'll never have to worry about it. But, I have a bar sort of helping pay those bills. So not everyone is in that position. I also don't, because I don't order from, look, there are definitely books I order from Ingram because I don't have accounts with actual publishers. I don't have an account with Simon & Schuster. I don't order from Hachette directly. Harper is sort of like, I'm rarely hitting the minimum. So like what you're talking about, like things that are bestsellers or whatever, I'm reordering those from Ingram. Yeah. But I can balance it all out in a manageable way. I think it caught a lot of booksellers off guard, but I don't think it ended up being the disaster that everyone thought it was going to be.
That sounds about right. So through November 30th, our overall sales, Baker and Taylor accounts for 5% of them, and Ingram is 11%. Amazon is 27%, and independent stores are 20%.
That does not add up to.
No, there's more categories, but they're not worth it. Barnes & Noble is 1. In-house is 14. International is 16. Digital is 5. Other is 2. Like there's a lot of little ones, but just on the big ones, it's Amazon 27, Independence 20, Ingram 12, and Baker & Taylor 5. So Baker & Taylor hasn't been like a huge thing for us this fiscal year for that reason, probably. Although I had this data going back a long time, but someone stole my computer last year around this time, now I have to start from scratch. So,
okay,
yeah, all right. That's number one story. Number one news story for me is my computer got stolen. 3, Macmillan implements ebook windowing for libraries, which began on November 1st. There's a 2-month embargo on library ebooks across all of the company's imprints. Under the publisher's new digital terms of sale, library systems are allowed to purchase a single perpetual access ebook during the first 8 weeks of publication at half price, which is $30. Additional copies will then be available at full price, $60, after the 8-week window has passed. All their terms remain the same. Ebook licenses will continue to be metered for 2 years or 52 lens, whichever comes first, or on a one-copy, one-user model. Pissed a lot of people off. Even our local library system has a hashtag ebooks for all thing advertisement that was started by the ALA on their front page of their website. I don't know that I've encountered this yet because the books I went to try and check out audiobooks of, or ebooks of, I mean, was from our library were not Macmillan books. So I don't know that this has impacted me yet, but I do think that it's I agree with the libraries on this because I'm a pro library user overall. And I don't care if Macmillan wants to make more money because I don't care about that. I don't care if it's good business. Fuck them. I don't care about their corporate financial health.
I don't really know what to make of this. It seems like it's a bad decision.
Yeah.
It's also bad to be the only publisher doing something like this. You know what I mean? So
yep.
I don't know. But this doesn't affect me
in
any way, shape, or form. And it doesn't, I don't know that it really affects the publishing industry so much, except that either John Sargent is going to be a hero in 5 years when everyone is doing this, or this is going to go down as a huge failure and he's going to get run out of town. I don't know.
Yeah. One or the other.
But I don't think this story is over yet.
No, I don't either. But nobody else has moved, and it's been a little bit of time since this has been announced. So it seems like I felt like someone else was going to either side with him, or they would relent. But I guess it's only been 2 months of like the actual program. But I'm pro. I spend enough time in the local libraries that I'm pro like having these things and as many of these available to like these people that are like, I can imagine, I can see myself being 70 years old and just checking out ebooks because I can't read print anymore because it's too hard. And all of a sudden not being able to read books I want to read because some guy's like, nope, I want to make more money. Go fuck yourself, old man post with your bad eyesight. And that would irritate me. So I'm pro reader on this, pro old reader. And for anyone who can't afford to buy books, but should have access to them. Okay, 4. Audible caption proposal called copyright infringement. This was the thing from July where Audible was developing a new program called Captions that would run text alongside its audiobooks, which then kicked off a lawsuit. I believe it's just like nothing's happening with it. I think it's just like sort of done.
Yeah, I think they pulled it or, dramatically scaled it back, and that's that.
And they said that they're settling out of court. Would never have used this program, so I don't really understand. I mean, it seems clearly like a copyright infringement, especially if someone could develop a way of like stripping the captions to be able to create an ebook that you could pirate. But it also like, it would be easier if it was just like, hey guys, they already have, Audible has a ebook program whereby if you have the Audible book and the publisher agrees to this, you can get the ebook at a discounted rate and they sync together. Like, pushing that program seems to be a better one for everyone involved than this caption thing.
Yeah. This has to me, the odor of like, they were trying to find a loophole.
Yeah.
And got caught.
Yeah. Or maybe it was just like, well, let's see if this works.
Right.
And guess not. Who cares? Fuck it. Let's move on. Yeah, I don't think that one's a very big deal.
No.
I'd say it's a 3. Tariffs imposed on books manufactured in China. As part of the trade war with China, on September 1st, the Trump administration slapped 15% tariffs on most books manufactured in China. Excluded were children's picture books, coloring books, and drawing books, as well as Bibles. Okay. Interesting. Children's books are subject to possible tariffs on December 15th, but the administration suspended imposing those tariffs after reaching a phase 1 agreement with China over trade. Other ones remain in effect. No impact on us. Don't really know I don't have any sense of like how many books are manufactured in China by the presses at all. I don't have any idea what the context for this is.
I assume this is like Disney books and like huge publishers of, picture
like
books.
Gift books.
Well, and things that they're printing just, 100,000 copies of at a time. Because that's when it makes sense to print in China because the trucking shipping costs are ridiculous. So, yeah, this doesn't affect anybody we associate with, for sure. I will take a moment here to point out something which is affecting some friends of ours who work in the wine industry. And so there are new proposed tariffs on wine, and I don't know what else, presumably other things coming from Europe, that might go into effect later this year, these proposed tariffs, that would basically run wine importers who import, predominantly from Europe out of business, because the tariffs would make it prohibitive to actually do business in the United States.
Well, make American wine great again.
It's just mind-blowing that he thinks tariffs like this will do anything but just ruin a whole bunch of people's lives.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. Anyway. Yeah.
Yep. I can't figure out what percentage of books are published there at all, but it seems to be a lot. All undistinguished. That one, yeah, whatever. I don't know. Okay. 3. 6, citing problems, publishers cut ties with authors. At first, I was not sure what this is talking about, but this whole one is interesting. Given the charged nature of the times, publishers have been keenly aware of the reputations of their authors. In 2019, that led to a number of publishers dropping authors following various allegations or charges. After allegations of inappropriate behavior made against Tim Tingle, which, come on, could we not see that one coming? By 2 booksellers, Scholastic dropped plans to publish his middle grade book, Doc and the Detective. Tingle, who had his rights to the book returned, denied the allegations. Author Kosoko Jackson requested that Sourcebooks withdraw publication of his debut YA novel, A Place for Wolves, following concerns raised on social media. That I don't know about. And in June, after a Netflix drama reopened interest in the Central Park jogger case, in which 5 Black and Latino teenagers were falsely accused of assault and rape, Dutton and author Linda Fairstein terminated their publishing relationship. Fairstein was formerly chief of the Manhattan District Attorney's Sex Crimes Unit and oversaw prosecution of the case. What is the Kosoko Jackson story?
No idea. I don't know who that is.
I don't either. I love these ones. Like, I'm always on board for reading these stories, but
are you really? I don't know. None of this affects me.
Just because it's like there's always, I don't know, just for partially because I like the debate surrounding like the sensitivity things. Like, remember when that crazy YA shit was happening a couple years ago?
Yeah,
that stuff fascinates me. But yeah, so I don't know what happened. I'll figure it out later. It doesn't matter. I don't know. This is what's going to happen.
Yes, that's fine. I have no problem with this. I mean, publishers should, and I hope they continue cutting ties with people that, for whom, they don't want to associate. They don't want to associate with them. Cut ties. Good for you.
Yeah.
It bothers me that, a lot of this takes so long for publishers to do. Like, I wish they were more proactive at the beginning, like sort of doing their homework and not just treating everything as potential, paycheck. But, I mean, how do you know that somebody is going to, allegations of inappropriate behavior are going to come down the road? But when they come, you need to cut ties. That's
the inappropriate behavior ones are ones I'm like, that is one thing. The ones that I mean when I say that I'm always reading about them are the ones that are like the sensitivity ones.
Yeah, those are interesting because
and that's what this one is.
Yeah, it's a matter of, I mean, who decides what's right, and in these things that are just like, you're really just talking about like things that don't exist,
like all the ones that are like the anti alien like sci-fi books where they're like, that alien race is racist. Like, that alien race doesn't exist. I mean, it's a representation, but like, I don't know, man. That one's tough.
Those are hard to wrap your head around.
But and the power of Goodreads might be the real story to all of this. So this guy, Kosoko Jackson, was a sensitivity reader, and his book was chosen for like a kids indie next book, blah, 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 blah. It is a romantic thriller set in the late 1990s during the Kosovo War, following a relationship between 2 American teen boys. The backlash seems to have begun on February 22nd with a long review posted to the community review site Goodreads, a favorite of YA Agonis. Whatever. Quote, "I have to be absolutely fucking honest here, everybody," the review opened in the hyperbolic voice of its genre. "I've never been so disgusted in my life." The reviewer objected to the book's use of a recent genocide as a backdrop to romance, the way some fans early fans fetishized it as a cute gay love story, that it was not written by a Muslim, that it centers privileged Americans, and that the villain is an ethnic Albanian, among other concerns. Quote, are you able to confidently justify supporting this book despite all of the above, despite the harm it can and will do to real people, she asked in conclusion. The reviewer nonetheless gave the book 2 stars out of 5 because, quote, it was #own voices and well done. Then the criticism snowballed with other readers chiming in. How could you take a beautiful LGBTQ love story and shit on genocide victims like that? Said someone on Twitter. Then he ended up asking them not to publish it.
Okay.
Whew.
Yeah.
That's things. Okay, let's move on. That's I don't know what to do with that one. Okay, 7. Indie booksellers incensed over the breaking of Testaments embargo, which we talked about a bit on here. And that seemed like a deal, but I mean, you guys didn't sell it, but I wonder if anyone ever figured out how much impact it ended up having.
I have no idea to know how much impact this had. It's certainly just another thing to make me distrust the large publishers when they tell us repeatedly over and over that they're on our side and they care about us. And meanwhile, shit like this happens and there's no result, no punishment, no anything. But that's about it. I mean, in terms of like tangible effect on our sales of the book, I don't know. It's hard to tell because I think embargo or not, breaking the embargo or not didn't matter. I think a lot of people were just buying that on Amazon anyway because they wanted it immediately. They didn't even want to fucking get in their cars to go down the street and drive it. I don't think we lost sales because of their broken embargo, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
We lost sales to Amazon, period.
Beforehand. Yeah, that one, that seemed like there's something about that still strikes me as like there's something else going on. Yeah, I'm a little maybe too deep into Watchmen territory here, but it feels like there's some other thing and that this was like just like smoke. Right. But who knows what that is. 8, this is the one that I was going to backdoor segue into. 8, the Netflix literary connection. Streaming services have increasingly been looking to book publishers for source material, none more so than Netflix, which was on a book acquisition spree over much of 2019, developing screen adaptations of dozens of novels, series, short story collections, graphic novels, with a particular interest in those aimed at children and teens. I didn't know that this is a story.
I don't know that this is a story either. I certainly have no idea what they're talking about with the graphic novels and those aimed at children and teens, because I don't watch that kind of stuff. But I mean, I don't know. Is this a story? I don't think that this is a story any more than, which books are popular this year, because.
Are they?
Yeah.
Wow. That's trippy. Cool. Yeah, it's just like everything's always been, adaptations have existed basically as long as media has existed. And like, I was just thinking like the last 2 TV shows I watched were Killing Eve and Watchmen, and those are both adaptations. And neither from Netflix.
Right.
It just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel special to me. I'd say this is a 1. I don't think that's a story. This one would be a story, but is not have any details to it. AWP fires executive director. Less than 6 months after being named the Association of Writing and Writing Programs permanent executive director, Chloe Schwenke, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, was fired in September. She had succeeded longtime executive director David Fenza, which was a whole thing in and of itself, who was dismissed in April 2018. Schwenke, a transgender woman, alleges that her firing was primarily based on discrimination.
I don't know any of these details. I'm not involved in AWP in any way. How is this related to the publishing world?
Well, I mean, it is like it's related to the book ecosystem. Like AWP is a big part of like writers' lives, and a lot of publishers are there. A lot of people are involved with AWP. It's the largest writers' organization in the country. And a lot of people are members, even if they're already successful, I think, or like support it and by name at least. But the story part would be wild, but like there's all sorts of things that went on at AWP that made it seem like the whole place is about to implode. Like they signed an agreement to be at, was it George Mason University? And then when she took over, she immediately reneged on that and like canceled it. And then was like, nope, we're independent now. And then like, guess what? We don't have any money. Like, and then she got fired, and like then there's these allegations. So it's like there's like probably a really good AWP, like, no, I checked that, not really good, but like a really shitty like sort of USA Today movie version of like the AWP falling apart backdoor deal sort of thing that could be made, and that would be fun. I would read that article. I'd read an article about the inner turmoil and scandal of AWP.
Yeah, I don't know that I would read that. All right.
A good, and not a book, but like, you know, a good little journalistic article, like 4,000 words. I'm there. That'd be fun. I bet there's some weird shit that happened. The last one, I guess, is important for you. Alison Hill named ABA CEO. Alison Hill, president and CEO of Vroman's in Pasadena, was named the next CEO after Orrin Teicher. She begins on March 1st.
Yeah, I like Alison. I met her in California. I was at the store and saw her again, I think at like the LA Times Book Festival or whatever that thing is called. I think she is great. I think she'll be good for the ABA. I think, no offense to Orrin Teicher, but I think it's good to have somebody who is like so recently, you know, she's going straight from selling books and managing a bookstore and to advocating for bookstores. And I think that's a good thing that she will have, you know, come straight from there.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems hopefully it'll be good for the organization, be a little bit more in touch or something.
Yeah.
It's like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, I nothing against Orrin. I think he did, you know, as much as he could. It's just everyone has their own ways of doing things, and everyone is a product of the environment in which they came up and in the time and they came up. And you know, this is why the new blood is necessary every once in a while.
Yep.
And yeah, I think she's just got her finger on the pulse in a different way than he did, and I think the ABA could benefit from that. Who the fuck is calling us?
Yeah, I agree. So that's a good thing. I don't know how much anyone's gonna notice it for like a little while, but I think it's important.
Yeah. Again, I don't know that it's going to be like a very obvious thing for anyone, truly, but I like knowing that she's the one taking over. I mean, you know, we've known that Orrin was retiring for a year at this point, and it's good. I was a little concerned with who they would get to replace him.
Yeah.
And this was a pleasant surprise. I'm glad, frankly, that she took the job. I would not have thought that someone like her would want to go and do the job. Frankly, CEO of ABA seems like a really thankless job.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, rooms full of bookstore owners sort of complaining at you for day after day. But
it's like running Alta.
Right. But and yeah, I think she'll be good.
There was I'm gonna end with one little thing here. I know we're basically out of time, but adjacent to, there was one article I did want to talk about. Maybe we could do it next time, about this article on the Millions about why I'll never read a book a week ever again, which I thought was kind of silly, but is maybe interesting. But next to this article on the top 10 news stories is a link to the most read book reviews of 2017. I have no idea why that would be like the like connected point, but I just clicked on it, and it's from December 26, 2017, and so how they have 8,000 reviews a year or more in Publishers Weekly, and these are the 10 most read reviews of books. I'm going to name the book. You tell me if you've read it or if you've heard of it. I'm counting down from 10 to 1, most read. Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. These are
PW reviews only.
Yes.
Okay.
2017. Okay. Into the Water by Paula Hawkins.
I have heard of Paula Hawkins, but not that book.
Same here. And it says it's from The Girl on the Train. So this is like a follow-up to that, but I had no idea.
Sure.
We Were 8 Years in Power, An American Tragedy by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Yeah.
Yes, read that.
Unstoppable My Life So Far by Maria Sharapova.
Interesting.
Did not know.
Who that is. Did not know she had written a book.
Me neither. Fly Me by Daniel Riley.
Nope.
No idea. Chemistry by Wiki Wang.
Yeah, we sell that book.
That book looks from. I've seen this cover.
Yeah, you've seen it around for sure.
Okay, Win Bigly, Persuasion in a World Where Facts Don't Matter by Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy.
Okay, let's move on.
The Incest Diary by Anonymous.
Yes, we sold that too.
Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate.
No idea.
Manhattan Beach by Jennifer Egan.
Sure.
Okay, do you want to take any guess at what number 1 would be?
Michelle Obama's book?
Nope, because I saw it from 2017.
It's not? Okay, I wasn't sure.
What to Do About the Solomons by Bethany Ball.
What the fuck is that?
I had no idea. That's why I wanted to do this. I was like, I've never heard of this book. I've never seen this book. I don't know what this possibly could be.
That has to be like... That's genre. I'm just going to say that.
It doesn't actually look like it is. It's just a fiction about a Jewish family.
What was it called?
What to Do About the Solomons, Bethany Ball. Most read review in 2017. I mean, it doesn't indicate anything except that a lot of people read the review, but like, it seems super weird.
I have never heard of this person.
Me neither. So yeah, cool. Anyways,
there's an excerpt of it on LitHub.
Oh, of course, because it's a Atlantic Monthly book.
Atlanta. Oh, sure, right. Grove, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, interesting. Okay, well, is there anything you want to plug?
Not really. I don't know. You and I both seemed to really enjoy reading Dead Fashion Girl, so let's plug that.
That was great. I forgot about that. I read that over the break. Yeah, that was great. That was fun. That guy seems like a wild fucking dude, though, too.
Oh yeah, like so I love that. I mean, we could probably spend another hour just talking about this, but the way that he relates some of the like weirder moments in interviews, like those kind of things that come out like in the course of like retelling and documenting everything, I think are just fantastic. Like you can really see his mind at work, like trying to share what he can, but not, make his sources look bad and all of that. It's really interesting. Really interesting.
I sent you the thing about all the earlier books that he wrote, the Kate Bush ones, which are like, almost feel like performance pieces.
Yeah, I forget.
Who is this guy?
He calls them like anti-biographies or something like that.
Yeah, anti-biographies. Yeah. Like one's supposed to be written like it's a tabloid, and the other one's supposed to be written like it's from the point of view of a stalker.
Yeah, I know.
Like it's wild. Like I don't really. I'm kind of curious. Not going to read them probably, but like, I'm kind of curious as to see what that is, but it's like every Kate Bush person hates him.
Yeah.
Like just hates him. And like, it seems like maybe he wasn't like, they shouldn't, like he wasn't doing anything. He was doing something about the medium and not about her as much, but I can't tell because I haven't read the books, but that seems to be his perspective is like, this isn't really about that. It's about like how media informs the way we think about celebrity.
Right. Which you can tell he's very, very obsessed with.
Yeah. Did you see that there's a new movie or show coming out about Catherine Keeler, who's connected to the Dead Fashion Girl?
So Emma's mother is British.
Or Keener.
And
Keeler.
I was asking her about like a lot of these things, which like to a British person seems like, as I was reading the book, I thought, okay, if I were British, I would have known what all of this nonsense is, right?
Yeah.
Or Fumo scandal and blah, blah, blah. And Princess
Margaret
and
Churchill's daughter.
Churchill's daughter. And what was she called? The Duchess of Argyle, like those stories about those people. And I was like, I cannot even fathom any of this stuff happening in today's modern. Can you imagine?
Yeah, no, it's called Jeffrey Epstein. It is happening.
No, I'm saying like if if a member of the royal family like got caught like on video doing some of this shit, like there are photographs of some of these royals from back then doing this stuff. That is insane. It is insane. Anyway, it's just, I mean, different world. Like now they live like in these totally sequestered lives, like out of the prying eyes, and like just don't go out in public. And
yeah, this is when reading this though and looking, like I didn't know about the Profumo affair either. And to correct all of my mistakes, it's Christine Keeler. There is a movie coming out, but I forget where it's from. A BBC series. It's coming out, or maybe it came out. I don't know. Fucking cares. But yeah, the Profumo affair I didn't know about. But reading that, I was like, yeah, it's so clear that like all these rich people were involved with Epstein and probably doing really, really sick shit. My favorite bit of all of that is that they always refer to him as osteopath Stephen Ward. It's never Stephen Ward. It's always like famous osteopath Stephen Ward, which cracks me up every single time.
Right.
Which is great. But yeah, it's a fucking wild book. Those people are lived wild lives and like we're really like right on the edge of like sordid and criminal. Yeah, it's and
then did you read the very last thing about they killed her by what was the title of the chapter? They killed her by giving her drugs and turning her into a horse?
Yes.
It's like, what in the fuck am I reading? It was like, that's where I understand like where like it's like you said maybe none of this is true and it's just like some elaborate fucking Oulipian bullshit. And it's like maybe it is. Maybe it is.
There were several moments at the beginning of that book where I was like, this could all be made up and I would not know.
No.
Like, I would never be able to tell. It would be like it could be a grand hoax. And I would kind of love that. I don't think it is, but like, it's wild because the horse thing is crazy because it goes into, what is the person's name or the serial killer? What was it called? Whatever the serial killer was, it's like a speculation that they knew who it was. It was this guy and his girlfriend, and the guy was a mechanic, and they would drug the women and then ride them like a horse with a bridle and end up killing them as part of this. And that was like the serial killer connection, the serial killer who's never been caught.
Right.
So
because they were looking for somebody totally like a different profile entirely.
Like sort of, but they did like look for someone it did butt up against it, if I remember right from there. But it all feels super speculative. It's kind of wonderful. I love those kind of theories and that kind of detail. It's fun. It was a fun book to read. Very quick too, because there's a million pictures in it.
A lot of pictures, and it's so like riveting. Each section is so interesting and so riveting. So,
yep.
Anyway, that's our gushing for a book called Dead Fashion Girl
by Fred
Mel? I don't know.
Sure.
Why not?
That works.
But then again, he's British. It could be like Veramil. You could make up any pronunciation for those letters put together as a word, and I would buy it.
Yeah, me too. Exactly.
They say aluminium, for Christ's sake.
Oh, man. Okay, well, I guess that's all for today. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Have a good time at the store.
Yes, have fun taking care of your son by himself.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We're going to go hang out at the museum some days.
Double darkness falling fast. I keep pressing on. Way deep down, some substratum. Feels like something really wrong has happened